Hey guys, Jim here once again with another knife overview, one that I just got in the mail. I typically don't do these the second I get a box open, but this one was so exciting to me and one that I've been really excited and anticipating its arrival for about a week now that I just had to make time, sit down, and shoot a quick video on it. This thing is unbelievable, and a lot of people don't know about this brand yet. A lot of people don't know about this maker yet. So I wanted to get the word out there and kind of let people know how exciting his stuff is. This is the Phantom Steelworks PF-1 Flipper. The guy's name that owns the brand and does all the work, his name is Chris Martin. One hell of a guy. You know, this is one of those exciting times to have a knife built. This was completely hand built for me. And it only took him, because he already had most of the stuff done. He was getting ready to make some of these available. I saw the pictures that he sent me of it, and I said, I want it, but I want a different blade, and I want that Damascus clip. So he kind of pieced that one together for me. And it was so cool because he sent me progress pictures as he was doing everything, from the time he did the slabs, to the time he did the etching, to the time he did the heat treating, to when he did the grind on the blade. The guy is just amazing to deal with. It's one of those rare occasions where the knife maker is excited about making a knife for you. And the only other experience I've really had with it, and I've dealt with a lot of knife makers now, and they're all great. I've never had a single bad instance yet. But it reminds me a lot of working with Daryl Ralph. Daryl is one of those guys, you know, he may be old school, he may be, have been around the block a few times, and he's kind of a staple in the industry. And you kind of look at the older guys as being, you know, I don't know, I don't want to say arrogant, but maybe more set in their ways, and they're just kind of taking orders and trying to fulfill them, and there's no real excitement left to it. And whenever I converse with Daryl, it's always, you know, he's always very, very excited. He can't wait to get a project going. A lot of times we'll just sit there and text back and forth, and, you know, the guy will put 25 exclamation points behind what he's saying. And that's a lot of what I got with Chris. Except Chris, he's a sick bastard. He really is. And that's a really good thing. It means he's a lot like I am. We share a lot of the same sense of humor. And this guy is really thinking outside of the box. He doesn't want to manufacture a knife like anybody else. Everything he does is done with attitude. It looks badass. It looks like it's going to injure you before you even open it. And that's one of the main points that I wanted to bring up by shooting this video. Because when you look at this, the way he's etched everything, it looks like you've got a knife that's sharp and jagged and that's going to hurt you. And that's absolutely not the case. He does all of this incredible three-dimensional etching, but he's very careful to contour every ridge. Every raised ridge that's on here is actually rounded and contoured, even up here. There's no sharpness to any part of this knife, which was what really amazed me about it. Because when I'd first seen one or two pictures of his knives, I had not seen the heat-treated ones yet. I had just seen the plain, I guess the raw steel or raw titanium. And I thought, oh, that's a little too aggressive. That's going to be really, really uncomfortable to carry. It's not going to be, you know, a quality knife. And the way he does everything, because he's actually polishing all this titanium before he does the heat treatment, with as shiny as it looked, when I just saw pictures on the internet, I assumed this was just an inexpensive knife, either done in some sort of steel or aluminum for the handles. And again, I couldn't be more wrong. This thing is just badass from the word go. So let's get a couple of specs on it right out of the gate so that you understand what you're looking at here, because this is not a big knife. As a matter of fact, it's one of the smallest knives that I have. You've got a 2.75 inch blade on here. I opted for the Tanto Grind, and he'll do two different grinds when you get a Tanto. He'll do this, which is the double V grind, as he calls it, or he'll do a flat grind, where if you look, you see all the etching that he's done here. When you get the flat grind, the backside is just completely flat. You know, he's going to do a chisel grind on it, so you get the heavy chisel grind on this side, and then it's flat on the other. And then he takes this texture and runs it all the way through the entire blade. And that was the option that he gave me. And while it sounded exciting, I'm just not a chisel grind kind of guy. I guess I'm kind of a symmetrical person. I like a knife to be balanced. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm probably going to end up getting one at some point that has that, just to have the extra etching on it. What he's using, it's actually quite interesting when you start talking about the blade steel. He's using CTS XHP steel. He uses CPM 154 in some of his knives. I think that he's used D2 in others. And what you're looking at here is actually a higher grade of steel. It's very, very fine grains when it's originally manufactured. It's supposed to be a little bit easier to grind than, like right now, I guess the holy grail of blade steels is S110. And while that's an amazing steel and it's going to last you a hell of a long time and give you a lot of blade retention, you don't want to be the guy that has to grind it. You don't want to be the guy that has to resharpen it when that time does come. Here you're getting and not quite the miracle steel that is, but you're getting an incredible, highly anti-corrosive steel that's very tough. It's got very good edge retention. And the great thing is you can sharpen it to an absolute razor's edge. He's doing amazing work with his blowtorch. I got to tell you, when he was sending me the progress pictures and seeing it just in the silver tone look of the polished titanium, it looked great, but it lacked a lot of character. And when he started doing this, I got to tell you, it's astounding. What I find really funny about knives and knife collectors, when you start talking about big macho guys, you're not going to see some big, I don't know, macho biker guy with anything in his possession that's rainbow colored, because that's going to be feminine or whatever else. And I ain't going to carry no rainbow colored this or that. But when you get into knives, it completely changes. You get into heat treating titanium and you bring out some of these rainbow colors. Everybody thinks it's cool. Everybody thinks it's great. Nobody looks at it as feminine in any way, which is still quite amusing to me. He went less on the rainbow route here. You've got more of a golden or bronzed anodized look here. And then you get to the purples, blues, and a little bit of reds toward the very edges. He does do different patterns for etching. Sometimes he'll just etch in a little bit on the edges and leave the slabs completely flat. But this one, he went full tilt on it, went crazy. Look how thick the titanium is. I mean, this is a monolithic block of titanium. Well, I'll get into some more detail here in a second, but I want to give you guys some size comparisons so you understand what it is you're getting into, should you choose to buy one. As always, I use for a standard in my measurements, I use Sebenzas because everybody's very familiar with Sebenza sizing. This is a large Sebenza, and this one will be a small Sebenza. So as you see, this is a pretty small knife. I'll get the large Sebenza out of there because that is no longer relevant. I'll put it up next to a Jason Browse Silent Soldier Flipper. The Silent Soldier will be a touch smaller. A Microtech UTX 70, pretty much the smallest knife that I even own. And I can probably squeeze one more in here. A Spyderco Sprint Run Tim Zawada. So if you own any of those knives, now you got kind of an idea of what the size comparison really is. We'll get this opened up, show you an open size comparison. I'm just so excited. I don't even want to play with the other knives. I love this thing so much. I don't know if I can quite squeeze them all in here at once. So there's your basic size comparison. So obviously not quite as small as the UTX 70. A little bit smaller than the Tim Zawada. Almost identical in size to a small Sebenza. As a matter of fact, that's the closest that I have in my collection to give you that comparison. Now, one of the amazing things is, you know, when you look at a Sebenza, a standard Sebenza like this one's no longer made, but a standard computer graphics small Sebenza is going to run you anywhere from $350 to $425. I think I paid $4.25 for this one. The legendary smoothness that the Sebenzas have, the bank vault-like feel that's always being talked about, that's evident. And you expect that from a Chris Reeve. When you get into a manufacturer that you're a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to say hesitant on, but you don't really know a lot about them. There's not a lot of advertising. Not a lot of people have got these in their hands and made reviews and videos and whatnot. It's a little tough to drop the kind of change that he charges for these. Now, you got to realize I spent a lot more on mine because this Timascus clip, Timascus is very, very expensive, as you all very well know. To get all the heat treating, to get all the etching, and the Timascus clip, this one cost me $6.75. Now, granted, that's a lot of money for a knife that's that tiny. But when you see and feel the workmanship, it is very, very easily justified. As a matter of fact, I just sent out to him, before I even received this, I got this today, and what I sent him, he just received today and texted me about it. I just sent him my Chris Reeve Omnums on because I wanted to kind of get a phantom treatment on that with some etching, some heat treatment, and some anodization. So I just pretty much gave him carte blanche and said, do what you're going to do, make it as bad as you can. And I think he's going to turn that knife into one dirty bitch. And again, that's not a derogatory term. That's a very complimentary thing to a guy like me and to a guy like him. So I definitely see myself buying more. He is going to be making a larger version. I've already told him I want the first one, or one of the first ones when he makes it, more like a large Sebenza size. So let's get into some of the details here. You've got these massive slabs of titanium, which again, when you look at it in pictures, you would assume that all of this etching is going to be sharp because it looks sharp. And I don't know how he does this, but he makes it look weaponized just on the edges of this etching, yet there's no rough area. You know, you're not going to injure yourself by carrying it. He does a wonderful job of the heat treatment, and those of you guys that have ever broken a blowtorch out to titanium realize it's not an easy thing to do. You spend a little too much time in one area, you've scorched it, you've completely ruined it. It's hard to braze it in this way and keep a uniform color going all the way throughout. And I love how he tapers off to the purples and blues at the end here. He's got a lot of great skill, I got to tell you that. He is, again, one of my favorite things, using standoffs instead of a backspacer, especially for a knife like this that I anticipate carrying probably almost every single day. It's going to get a lot of pocket lint. It's going to get a lot of nastiness in there, and I can just blow it out with a compressed air can very easily. He is using, let me kind of close that up, kind of just open this up a little bit. There is the blade stop there, and he's actually, I think he's using it on both sides, where it's actually stopping it when it closes, and obviously it's stopping it when it opens. It's hammering into that. The blade is incredible. I don't know how close I can get and get my camera to focus, but we are going to force it. Look at that grind. Look at the etching that he's done here. How this guy isn't like one of the biggest names at this point, I don't know. But I think he's definitely soon to be. I know a lot of the guys on the forums are praising his work, and he's certainly getting the name out there now. I can't wait to see more designs that he comes up with. As you see, it's got nice early lockup. Even the lock bar is massive, and this whole thing, it's a big, thick chunk in your hand. It may be a small knife, but it is a big, thick chunk in your hand. It flips open nicely. He is using IKBS bearings. On some of the newer stuff that he's going to be manufacturing, he's going to be changing things up just a little bit. I was talking to him actually just earlier this morning. He's going to be using GTC bearings, which he feels is going to be a major step up for his product line. I got to tell you, this thing opens up just fine on its own. It's got a nice solid feel in the hand. Even reverse grip, even keeping in mind how small this handle really is. He's done a great job with the jimping back here. It comes out just enough where you can get a hold of it. I think it could actually be used as a good attitude adjuster. You know, if you don't want to use this end on somebody, you know, kind of hit some pressure points with this or knock them in the temple. That will certainly adjust some attitudes. So it's a well thought out design. It's a clean design. It looks really busy. But when you get it in your hand and you really start looking it over, everything makes sense. It's balanced. He didn't just do shit to do it. And that's what I find impressive. It's really kind of hard to hold yourself back as a designer of anything. You tend to want to, you know, you get excited about what you're doing and the cool stuff that you're doing. And you just want to go overboard and keep doing more and more and more. And he's definitely held himself back a little bit and created a nice clean flow of design. That pocket clip is gorgeous. Yeah, I would have saved quite a bit of money had I gone into just a standard titanium clip, which he etches like the rest of the knife. But once I saw that Damascus clip, I said, I gotta have it. It was on another knife with a different blade, and I said, I want you to do this, I want this blade, but I want that on my knife for sure. Unfortunately, right now, he's out of the beads, so I can't show you the cool lanyard and bead that he manufactures. Check out his website at phantombladeworks.com, and you can see the seeker beads that he makes. As soon as he gets more in, I'm going to be getting one of those for certain. Got to add that to the knife to have the complete look. But if you've ever considered, you've ever come across on one of the forums or talked to anybody that mentioned Chris Martin, that mentioned Phantom Steelworks, and you were unsure about doing it, do it. Lay out the money. Get it ordered up. The dude is super fast. He's really dedicated to his craft. He's dedicated to keeping the customer happy. And he's one hell of a nice guy. I mean, seriously, we talk about more stuff outside of knives than you can even imagine. He's got a great personality. He's a super guy, very easy to deal with. And if it's within his scope, he'll do pretty much anything for you. If you make some kind of wild, goofy, crazy request, and it's within the scope of the materials that he can get and the manufacturing that he can do, he's going to do it for you. Look at this work up here in the spine. I mean, I'm just now seeing that for I think the first time. I'm just kind of really taking a look at this like you are, because I just opened this up. But Chris is a super great guy. I invited him into, I have a private Facebook group just dedicated to EDC knives and guns and stuff like that, with a close-knit group of my friends. And I invited a few of my knife maker friends in there, and once I got to know Chris, I invited him in. He fell in with these guys, knowing that this is not a big forum with, 50,000 people. He's not going to make a living off being in there. He just wanted to hang out with a group of guys that love knives, want to have fun. And you know what? He's getting sales out of it. I got mine today. My buddy Marlon got his today. And it was Jason Reels, my good friend Jason, that turned me on to this initially. He bought one. I had never really heard of him. And I saw it and went, whoa, that's cool. And I did some research. And once I saw all the extra work that he starts to do, I knew I had to have one. I wasn't sure if I was going to pony up $550 for one, or in this case, $675 for all the work here. But now that I've got it, it's so easy to justify the work, and I will be ordering more. So Chris, my hat's off to you. You did an amazing job. You made me very happy. It's been less than a week from beginning to end, and that was with a big snowstorm that they had in Oklahoma, where he couldn't even get into his shop for a day or a day and a half. He still got it out to me quickly, and the work is flawless. It was not rushed. He did a fantastic job, and now I have a brand new everyday carry that I can be very, very proud of owning. And you know what? Not everybody's going to have one, and there's something to be said for exclusivity. So check out his website, phantombladeworks.com. Check out his Facebook page under, I'm sure he has a Phantom BLADEworks Facebook page, but he also has his Chris Martin Facebook page. Hit him up, get some custom work done. Challenge him. The dude loves a challenge, and it's probably going to piss him off that I said that. I don't care. Challenge the guy, because he really steps up to the challenge and makes an incredible product. So enjoy, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave me some comments in the section below.